Shamanic Journey is a fundamental shamanic practice that allows people to, in a sense, leave their ordinary reality context and have a structured way to enter into what we think of as a spirit world, or a separate kind of reality system, which is, by the way, at least as real as the one that we are encountering right now. It's not made up. It's not imaginary. And one of the things that we learn about this different kind of reality over time and experience is how real it really is. So let's talk a little bit about what the journey process is, and give you an idea of what it looks like and what you might expect to experience on a journey. I think of the shamanic journey as being an interaction, a dance, if you will, that combines imagination and intelligence, the ability to observe, and spirit. The three of those components all work together in order to provide the journey, the person who's doing the journey, an experience of some kind that can help them to explore a question that they're interested in, explore a relationship perhaps, look at things from a higher or different perspective than they ordinarily would whenever they are just thinking about things. So the way that works is that most often people need to begin a journey by using their imagination. One way to do that, which is very traditional, is to begin by going into a hole in the ground. There's a kind of a shamanic journey that's called a lower world journey, which is different from an upper world journey or a middle world journey. But to keep it simple, let's talk about just the lower world journey. In entering into a lower world journey, you would be looking for a hole in the ground. Now you have to use your imagination in order to begin this process. So you might imagine yourself walking down a path with a meadow and trees and grass and a blue sky above, perhaps. And as you're walking on this path, you also have in mind what your intention for the journey might be. It's always a good idea to have a reason to have a journey, even if it's just to explore more about how you journey. How does it work for you? So in your imagination, you're thinking about your intention, and you're also sort of looking around for some kind of entrance into the earth. It could be a crack or a spring or a snake hole or a space at the bottom of a tree. It really doesn't matter. And the entrance may be unique just to you. In other words, you may be the only one who has access to that particular kind of entrance. So at a certain point, this entrance will appear, or you can even create it for yourself, doesn't matter. But when it shows up, you allow yourself to go into that entrance, into that hole. Most people then encounter some kind of tunnel or a tube or a transition of some kind in which they travel, or through which they travel. And they may have certain kinds of experiences. It may be a hole with dirt, or it may be a culvert with cement, or it may be water. Again, it really depends on the individual who's doing the journey and how they're using their imagination. But notice too, as you're working with this journey, with this transition, some amazing things may show up. In other words, you might begin to intend to simply go through a tunnel, but then it has more context, it has more feeling to it, or it may have something unusual about it which you would not ordinarily have made up. That's when spirit begins to enter into the picture, and inspiration then begins to take a leading role. So for the most part then, people may journey through this tunnel, this transition space for some time. Maybe it's short, maybe it's long. Sometimes people get stuck and spend the entire journey wandering around in this tunnel, and that's fine too. Eventually though, they may find themselves at the end of this tunnel, at which they can look out to see an entire vista. Could be a meadow, it could be a seashore, it could be a jungle. Some people even emerge on the limb of a tree. It really, again, doesn't matter. It really has more to do with how the individual does the journey and how spirit is beginning to work with them to create an experience. Now, if you get to the end of this tunnel and you notice that there are certain aspects of this that don't make much sense, that's fine. In fact, that's a better sign that spirit is working with you, because if there are aspects that don't make sense, then that's certainly not part of what you would have imagined. So sometimes people at a certain point in the journey then begin to wonder, am I making this all up? Because perhaps it is very fantastic. And maybe they're having a conversation with one of the animals in their journey. Am I making this up? Or I believe I imagined the whole thing. That's fine. The reality is that the answer to the question, am I making it up, is, well, yes. But you're not making it up alone. In fact, at a certain point in the journey process, what happens is that the journey itself begins to take a life of its own. And the individual then shifts from being an active participant in the creation of the journey, becoming instead an observer of what is happening in the journey. This particularly comes into play whenever you are working with a journey animal, an animal or spirit that shows up in the journey itself as an individual or entity that helps you with the journey, will guide you in the journey. So what you do with that is very interesting, actually. When this journey guide shows up in whatever form that it might be, you simply acknowledge that it's there. Say, hello, how are you doing? Are you my journey animal? And if they say yes, then you simply tell them what your intention is and then turn the journey over to them. Then they will lead you. They will take you wherever it is that you need to go, or have a conversation with you, perhaps, with what you need to know about in order to answer your question. Now, what's neat about that is that at that point, it's like you turn off your mind. You're no longer creating this, and you literally move your mind out of the way so that you are not in charge anymore. You become an observer. That's when your ability to again, observe, and your intelligence begins to help you to work through what you're being shown. You're no longer in charge, but you are following along behind your power animal, your journey animal, and paying attention to everything that happens, because everything that happens is part of the message back to you. That's part of the answer to your question, or the information that you need. At a certain point, then, the journey will be over. And if you are working with the sound of a drum, there will be a callback signal. Drums are often used because the rhythmic quality of the drum or the rattle or the sticks helps to put you into a light trance state. So when it's time for the journey to end, the drum rhythm will change, and that is your signal to begin to return from the journey. It's always a very good idea to say thank you to any of the beings that you meet along the way, to express your appreciation and also to show respect. Because again, this reality is just as real as our reality is real. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to disrespect it. In fact, what happens if you do disrespect the individuals or the settings that you show up in, your ability to do the journey diminishes. Eventually, you may not be able to journey at all because there is no one there to receive you. So you want to be respectful and say thank you. You may then return through the tunnel to the setting where you began, or you may simply return to your body or return to the room. It's always a really good idea to get tuned into what's going on in the room by listening to the sounds of the room. Then to tune into your body by paying attention to your breathing, perhaps, or your heart rate, and feeling the floor beneath you or the chair upon which you're sitting, so that you get back in your body and begin to breathe. And when you open your eyes, you're back. The journey is over. But that doesn't mean you understand it yet. It's a good idea to take the journey and write it down or draw it, so that you can have some reference points on this side. It's like a dream. And often in a dream, no matter how important the dream might be, if you don't take some time to ground it, to write it down, to draw it down, you begin to forget over time. And so it's a good idea to take some time to integrate your journey experience into your everyday life.